Hearing what we're talking about. Normal thing, but don't worry about it.
I don't really
Good morning, everyone. We're going to call the meeting to order. Regular monthly board meeting of the Chatham Area Transit. Beverly, if you do roll call, please.
Yes, sir. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Chairman O'Halloran.
Here.
Mr. Emerson.
He's excused. He's in Alaska.
Thank you. Dr. Robinson. Here. Ms. Stone. Present. Mr. Durant.
Here.
Ms. Odell. Mr. Jones.
I'm present.
Mr. Lakakis.
Yeah.
Mr. Cody. Thank you.
Next, we're going to move on to the approval of the minutes.
We don't have quorum days out of the room.
We have 5.
1, 2, 3, 4.
And Helen, it's 5.
1, 2. That's what I said. 5.
Thanks for telling me. And you handle money?
No, they don't let me handle money.
Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from last month's board
So
meeting?
moved. Second.
All those in favor, raise your hand. Unanimously. Okay, and I know mine's the next item, and basically what I've done is I've sent everybody a copy of the 6 companies that have sent in proposals for the search. We will be meeting next Tuesday for the ad hoc committee between 12 and 1 between the regular scheduled committee meetings to go over all the presentations and see if we can narrow it down to one that we'd like to use. So everybody should have it. It's in your board packets. Read it over. If you have any comments, recommendations, suggestions, we're welcome to accept that. Anybody who wants to come to that meeting is welcome to come.
I was going to ask that.
Yeah,
It's
that's why I put it in between, so if you want to come a little early for the late one or stay a little late for the early one, it'll be between 12 and noon, or noon and 1.
Between 12 and noon is a very short meeting.
That's what I intend. Stop.
Well, I mean, if you read through, some of the bios were quite lengthy.
Yes, that's
And,
why I gave us some time.
I know that the city has used some of the firms.
Yeah,
The county has used some,
Mhm.
and when we hired the executive director for the MPC, we used a different firm that's listed on there.
Oh, good. Okay. Then
So
we
I'll
get
be
some good
happy.
input. And
Yeah,
I know you were
I think-
involved in the last process, so you have some experience with it. This is my first job hiring and doing that, so I'm open to suggestions.
I was a little bit surprised in addition to the cost variations of some of these firms, so I certainly want to be mindful of that.
Yeah, it's always going to be a range. Some people think they're worth more than others, actually.
Well,
Some are.
some are.
Some are,
but
and I
maybe
don't know
not
all
to-
of them.
Maybe not to the extent of double, but some are.
Yeah, there's always an outlier like that where you get where there's normal, and then someone has an extremely high or extremely low, and those always worry me. All right, next, let's move on to action items. Mike, I know we have 2, and they're basically identical, so I guess we can approve them together.
I do them separately.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Ty. Let's do them separately.
I don't want to mess this thing up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, request the board approve the transportation funding agreement between Weston Savannah Holdings LLC and CAT. CAT provides water ferry service between 3 docks on the Savannah River. Historically, funding was provided to the Georgia International Maritime Trade Center, received in part from the city per occupied room PRR fee upon hotels in the Special Service District. In 2018, the City of Savannah modified the current distribution process and now forwards POR fees collected directly to CAT. The SAMI, City, and CAT MOU called for supplemental agreements for additional support for the Trade Center and the Westin. This agreement is effective January 1st, 2019, carries a 6-year term with continuing renewals. and provide for semi-annual payments of $25,000.
Can I get a motion in a second, then I'll take questions?
So moved. Second.
Ellen, question?
Does this total of $50,000, does it cover CAT's cost?
So, we get $50,000 from the Weston, and then also the second contract, the same thing, we get $50,000. The total, it's about $700,000, am I correct, Terry?
From the PORs.
On the PORs, and it varies depending on the room occupancy. If it's not budget neutral and there's a gap between the annual costs and funding, then we will request additional funding from the city, or it'll be a reduction of service. So basically, if it's not covered 100%, we will ask for additional funding or reduced service.
Okay, so up to this point, we haven't reached that.
No, we have not.
Okay, I want to know that the financial burden didn't fall on CAT.
And if there's additional service requested for special events or something, they pay additionally, they pay us.
Correct.
They pay extra for that.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
This was a twice a year payment.
Yes,
The Western
it says
side.
6 year, I've made an error, it's
No.
6 months
6 months.
in the report.
That was my next
Yes,
concern.
carries a
6
6
years
month
is too
term,
long.
so every 6 months we'll bill them $25,000.
Okay, and this just renews automatically until somebody doesn't choose to renew.
Yes.
Okay.
And we have a motion and a second. All in favor of approving the Weston, raise their hands. Everyone, unanimous. And let's move to the Savannah Convention Center.
Okay, so same thing here, to request board approval for transportation funding between the Savannah, Georgia Convention Center and CAT. This one is a 1-year term with annual renewals, $50,000. Pretty much everything I said before as far as the PR fees collected are the same, and staff recommends the board approve funding for the water ferry service for the Savannah, Georgia Convention Center.
So I have a motion, second?
Second.
Question, go ahead, Bill.
This is an annual contract instead of 6 month.
Yes.
So when do they pay us? Before, after, during, and when do they pay us for the 8 months that we've delivered so far? Almost 9 months that we've delivered this year.
So because it's an annual contract, we'll bill the $50,000 as soon as it's executed. And the contract kind of gives them leeway to pay either monthly, quarterly, or annually, but we will bill the whole amount and work with them on a timing of receipt.
The amount you're billing them for now, the $50,000, will be for this year?
Yes,
or
it's for January 1, 19 through December
So then
31st.
in January 2020, we'll bill them for the year?
Bill them again.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? All those in favor of approving the Convention Center contract, raise your hands. Good again. You have nothing under presentation, but since Michael's here, is there anything you want to add to your report? Or
I will add.
Quickly?
I will add one thing very quickly. If you are incredibly bored on Thursday and Friday, go to the General Assembly's website. The Joint House and Senate Appropriation Committees will be meeting on Thursday afternoon and Friday morning in Atlanta. The meetings will be live streamed. As you will recall, the governor has dictated 4% across the board cuts for most of the state agencies. The Appropriations Committee was expecting to have the state department heads attend these sessions to talk about these cuts. The governor basically instructed all of the department heads to not attend those meetings. So the meetings are going on, but there will be presentations by, I think, around 10 to 11 economists from universities around the state and think tanks, as well as the cuts actually go into effect on October the 1st. So watch that. It's going to be very interesting to see how those unfold. Yesterday, the governor also told the departments that he did not expect those budget cuts, which amount to between $200 and $300 million, to come from their personnel cuts or furloughs. They are to come out of them streamlining their operations and developing efficiencies that do not exist. As one caveat, transportation is one of a handful of state activities that are exempt from any of the cuts. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mike. Any questions for Mike while he's here? Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice and short. I like it that way.
Don't be perky with me.
Executive Director's report, Michael.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, I'd like to announce that we have hired our ADA Paratransit Program Manager, Ms. Bridget Morrison, right here. You want to stand up, Bridget, so you can see? Bridget was formerly the call center manager. We hired from within.
I love
Yes,
that.
we did.
Thank you.
And she was one of a number of people that stepped up in the absence of the ADA manager, and she interviewed very well. And so she's our new paratransit manager. Also, like to report that we completed our triennial review last week. The reviewers were in. We did quite a bit better than we did 3 years ago as far as findings. We had over 20 3 years ago. We only had 5 this time, which is pretty good. And of those, we've already addressed. We're in the process of addressing those. So I'd like to just acknowledge everyone that had a part to do with that, which most of the people in this room had something to do with that. And also I'd like to acknowledge Terry, who kind of spearheaded the whole documentation, putting them in the folders and getting everything where they needed to be, which made it a lot better when the FDA came in. They came in knowing that we were prepared, and that made the whole process, I would have to say, quite smoother than it could have been. So I just wanted to report that as well. That's it for the Executive Director's report.
I have a couple of questions.
Yeah, I was going to say, any questions?
Well, this isn't so much a question, but it's a, small blessings wherever you can find them. Some of these numbers. We're actually up almost a half a point in fare box recovery
Yes,
over
sir.
last year. That's
Yep.
unusual. We've been going down for so long.
Yeah, I think it's a factor of the calculation, but it is good news, right? Fare box up, total cost down. So the mathematics of it points toward an improvement, yes, sir.
Okay. On the fixed route KPI summary report efficiency, just a question, because we have so many relatively new buses now, I mean, that certainly equates to a great KPI on quality of service, where we're getting a lot of miles in. I'm just curious if there's any obvious answer to why our efficiency isn't meeting the metric better. Why would our cost per revenue mile? I thought we were doing better with that. Maybe I'm remembering it wrong.
The only thing I might say on that, I don't think we've adjusted that number for quite some time, and I think that's 6.8.
The metric you think might be wrong?
Yeah, some of them are, passengers at 18 is kind of offbeat.
We can certainly take a look at that.
Well, I wasn't talking about the passenger count.
No, and the efficiency is probably in the same, because you saw what the insurance prices and stuff
reflect
went up.
next month, maybe?
I
not sure what
think
goes
year
into
over
that.
year, you can expect costs to increase at least by inflation. And I know we've had smaller percentages of inflation over year, but that metric, Dr. Rose Wright, has not changed since 13. So as costs go up and ridership falls, we're going to get closer and closer to being upside down on that.
So we need to look at that.
What would affect-
Good, Jay.
What would affect the matrix to changes? Since you said 2013, that's 6 years ago. What measurements would make the matrix change?
An organizational and board decision to change the benchmark.
Okay. So it's up to us if we want to increase
We'd
the
have to change
benchmark
it,
or
yeah.
decrease the benchmark.
Yeah.
That would change the metric.
Yet those were set as industry benchmarks when we developed the reporting mechanism in 13.
So what are the industry, can we get, I know you don't have it, but can we get the industry benchmarks for 2019, so we see if we need to make those changes?
Probably 18 to get the last
18,
full year.
yeah, yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
Tabitha, I
Who's
see your hand.
responsible for keeping track of when we're supposed to change the matrix, the metric? Somebody should be watching to say, or somebody should be triggering us to say, things have changed. I mean, it's been 6 years. We
Yeah, I
still
didn't
calculating
realize
it.
it was that long.
I know, but who's responsible for that? Somebody should be responsible for keeping up with that.
I guess that would be me, as the
Now.
interim CEO. Now, that would be
help you out
my
now.
responsibility moving forward.
Yeah,
I'm helping you out now.
I think we noticed this the last 2 reviews we did on the CEO performance, that these numbers, and I've been mentioning it for 2 years, I didn't know it was that old. I mean, that's almost,
That's a lifetime.
you know, yeah, in transit, that's way too long. And, yeah, we probably should be updating that yearly to make the numbers valuable.
And
Yeah.
then we said that the fare box recovery was up, and it was due to the calculation.
So the fare box recovery ratio is operating cost divided by, I don't have it in front of me.
It's a formula.
Yep.
Okay,
it's formula. So the numerator and the denominator dictate the result.
Right.
And both of them are trending positive. So that's why we've had an uptick in the fare box recovery ratio for the first time in a couple of years.
Okay, so
Fares are
it's
up,
not
costs are down.
something where the formula needs to be adjusted.
No, it's the
just
same.
that the numbers have
Yep,
changed.
yep.
And when they go and when
Yep.
they're fed into the formula,
Yep.
it gives us a positive instead of a negative.
Fares are up, and through the first 2 months of the year, costs are down. So
Okay.
the ratio has improved.
So it is showing the fares are up.
Yes.
And ridership's down, that is kind of
There was
a
some,
odd thing to pick up on.
It is, but we've double checked.
It works, yeah.
Better fare ratio.
And this is the one that bothers me, I don't know about everybody else, is the on-time performance.
I had
Is
circled
that,
that.
well, we
is
changed
that just
the
the
way we were doing
things?
that a couple of months back.
We did. We went to the APC data where before we were doing manual checks.
Mhm.
And so we know that there's some issues with on-time performance as far, and that are being addressed in the route redesign as well. So we can't fully address those until we implement the route redesign, because we know there's some areas where there's, the schedule needs to be adjusted. So that's part of the reason why it's where it is.
Okay, so we are working on that.
We are.
to improve. Okay, because that number looks bad. That we're always late.
How much time did we lose during the evacuation? Because there were some numbers, I can't find them now, but there were a couple of places where some numbers seemed to be substantially different from
Yeah,
the
the
same time
weekend numbers I
last year.
noticed.
Did we lose, what, 2 days, a week? How much? For operation?
Oh, for operation, we stopped on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Friday, we went back into full service fixed route, so 3 days on the fix, 4 days on the para. Is that correct?
Yes.
And what were our costs associated with the hurricane? I mean, we did some transporting to the Civic Center.
We did. Terry?
So the cost associated with any emergency response evacuation area is wages after a mandatory evacuation has been called. Our compensation plan calls for compensating all employees that assist during an emergency instead of
Right.
evacuate. And it amounts to about $30,000 or $40,000 for the work that we did over the 3 days in wages. And then about that much more in lost fares for the 3.5 days. That
So do you apply for reimbursement for that?
So when the event is declared a national emergency, there's FEMA and GEMA reimbursement, and thankfully we didn't get that kind of damage here.
Yeah.
Our reimbursement opportunity will come later if the FTA allocates emergency response program funds. So there's an opportunity for reimbursement if the FTA implements their program.
We don't get
Because the
FEMA
county
money.
is
No
having
FEMA
some
money.
issues with
Yeah.
reimbursement from the state.
Yeah, and it's the fact that the storm didn't do the damage in an amount substantial to get that emergency declaration, so FEMA doesn't apply.
But there were still
Still
numerous
cost incurred.
costs
Still cost
associated with
incurred.
the mandatory evacuation.
Yes, ma'am. And our chance will be if the Federal Transit Administration evokes their emergency response program. And it will be a factor of all of the region's transit agencies. And it could happen. Last time for Irma, we were reimbursed under that program. It just took 12 to 18 months for Congress to allocate the funds.
Is it a piece or all?
It's about 85%. The ER program reimburses us just a little bit higher rate than FEMA, so it runs about 85% of cost.
How's everybody
Well,
doing?
I hope we get that
Me too.
reimbursement.
Yes.
I have one question. I'm looking at these. Bill, I'm surprised this come up to you with these power transit numbers.
I feel like a broken record. I figured it was somebody else's.
So I'm looking at more at the subscription drop from almost a 60% drop in the subscriptions. Does that mean we have that many less people that are on the service?
No, not necessarily.
I don't know what that number actually means.
There were some odd changes in the fare pass stuff as well.
Don't be jumping on pages, we're on one.
So the subscriptions, those are the number of people that have, set rides. That would be for doctor's appointments.
Dialysis.
Is what dialysis. And, we're actually supposed to be under 50%, which allows people to call up and schedule rides for the next day.
Okay.
So it kind of fluctuates. But we have yet to have capacity problems for paratransit, no matter how many subscriptions we have. We haven't had to deny rides at all.
And Bill's favorite, the companion attendants are up 45%.
That one this time, I mean, the percentages, are a little bothersome, but the actual numbers this time, we had more clients than we did
15%.
personal care attendants. We had more additional clients than we had more additional personal care attendants. this
Right.
time.
Same with companions and.
Yeah, those numbers vary. I mean, as far as the PCAs, it depends on, the clients really. If they need
who
the
needs it,
PCAs,
who doesn't.
if they're going to be riding.
I mean, I still worry a little bit that has to be impacting us in some way. And I know y'all keep saying that, we got to drive them anyway and there's room on the bus, but I mean, at some point there can't keep being room on the bus for anybody that wants to tag along.
Well, do we have a limit on, we can
For
put
the
in
record,
like one companion, one PCA?
I don't have a problem with it.
As long as there's
As long
not
as it's
tying the
in
buses
time
up, yeah.
to the place. I'm personally, I don't have a problem.
And they pay too.
The companions pay,
PC.
the PCAs don't. And the companion, they can only bring one, I believe. One, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Because I know a lot of people go with their spouse to the doctor, so that doesn't bother me.
That don't bother me.
And the bigger buses certainly allowed us to get more people on. And kudos on the new benches, they look nice. They look a little more indestructible than what we had out there before.
That was the plan.
Are we gonna do all of them eventually?
Yeah.
I assume good. Yeah, they look good.
They cost less and they last longer, so.
Yeah, I can imagine you can just spray them down for maintenance. You don't have to, they're not cloth or other materials. All right, what's next? Let's go to unit updates. Mike, you're up again.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So as we were talking about paratransit, I want to point out that we had a 14% increase in the month on paratransit, and at the same time had 4 less complaints, which shows that we're making good strides there. Year to date, we're down 50% on complaints at this time last year. So I think that needs to be noted as well. Ferry service is up 8%. And also, we continue to do a very good job with our preventable accidents. We are down, and we had and I know it sounds like a broken record when I say this, but we had a good year last year, and we're beating that even this year. so we continue to do well in those areas. And I'll answer any questions you may have on service delivery.
What about the senior circulator being down? Any comments on that?
We looked at that. We didn't have a significant downtime on that route. It looks like a trend, really. We were looking at those numbers before we actually put this number in there, and we haven't been able to pinpoint it, but that's something we're keeping an eye on because it looks like a trend that the ridership is going down a little bit.
You know, we went through that one time before where we had this constantly downward trend on senior circulator until we started talking about getting rid of it, and then the numbers started jumping.
So
All right,
that may be the case here, but we are keeping an eye on that.
And that
Any other
is an
questions for Mike?
agency service. The senior circulator is an agency service.
Any other questions for Mike? Yep, Patricia, you're up.
Good morning. Wanted to give you a reminder about our Let's Go System Redesign Workshop. Again, that date is October 8th, and we really hope all of you all can participate. Our consultant with Jarrett Walker and Associates will be coming in.
What time is it?
11 to 1, I believe, is the time that we scheduled it. And then she's also still wanting to talk with you all, and I had a conversation with her last week. And so I will send Beverly some information, contact information, in case you want to reach out to her. And then plus the information that we will share, we'll have links to those reports on the Let's Go website.
That's going to be on Gwinnett Street?
Yes, sir.
What does she want to talk about?
Basically, she wants to kind of see what your thinkings are regarding the two concepts that we shared with you all a while back during phase 2. So she just wants to have some individual conversations with each of you prior to then, and to see if you have any questions, you know, prior to getting together as a group for this workshop on October 8th.
I will be at a NACO committee meeting, so I'll be out of town. Is there any way I could schedule another time?
Yes, ma'am. We can do that. We can definitely schedule some time for you and Michelle.
And I have one, prior to joining the board, were there any kind of information handed out to board members that I might be privy to that might help me?
Absolutely. There's some really comprehensive reports on the Let's Go website.
Okay.
And you can access that website by going to the catchacat.org, and we have a specific tab. But there's lots of great information on this process.
Really should try to schedule some extra time with Michelle.
Yeah, that's what we want to do.
Her and Ellen to get
We'll do
thoroughly versed in all the back and forth we've had on all this.
Absolutely.
Right, she's willing to do
Absolutely,
teleconferencing.
she's willing to do that. So that's coming up on October 8th, and we've also been working on a couple of other special projects that have been assigned to us, and we're making progress on those. We had a really great public community meeting last month. It was a small group, but the dialogue, the conversation with some of our fixed route riders was very beneficial. One lady reminded us that we need to reach out to the city to basically try to remarket the program that city employees can ride our buses without charge. So we need to do that, but that's on our to-do list as well. Also, last month, our interim CEO and others attended a meeting at the Savannah Center for the Blind and Low Vision. And going to that meeting, Michael did his first CEO bus ride, so he's committed to do one of those, a different route each month. And so that was a good experience for our administrative staff that tagged along, as well as for the operators who saw our CEO out there on the buses, observing what our customers go through every single day. We've completed a number of publications that's also included in your packet, and at the committee meeting, I shared some of those with you. I'm really pleased with how our new system app is coming along. Remember, you all approved a contract several months ago for a photography service to enhance our system app, so we're about ready to order that. And that new system app will be helpful when we go back out and do the next round of community meetings regarding our system redesign effort, because we've created a frequency chart on the map so that the public can kind of look at all of the routes and look at how often they operate. So lots of good information about numbers to call, websites, that type of information. So that will be coming out. We'll be ordering some of those within the next couple of weeks, and we'll make sure that we share that with you, as well as put it on the website. We're also planning to get an estimate from the mapping company to do that map in Spanish, because we need to increase our LEP services to non-English speaking customers. So we're planning to get an estimate to see how much it will cost us to do that in Spanish, as well as looking at translating some of the other publications and other information that we provide. And in the report too, we are continuing to promote the positive services that we are providing at CAT. Want to note that for the month of August, we sent out a total of 7 news releases, media advisories. Sarah went back and compared that to last August, when we only sent out 2. So we are, with Eric's help, we are really cranking them out, trying to get positive news out there in the community.
This is getting used?
Yes, yes. In your packet, we also have a media monitoring service, so we keep up with who's reporting what. So that's listed as well. There was a drop that we noticed in the website, and I hate Clinton's not here because Sarah did additional research on that as well. And we can't pinpoint exactly why we had that website drop. I believe it's probably to do with ridership, because our ridership is dropping. But what she also did was compare the rate from January through August of 2018, compared it to 2019, and we found that basically there was an increase. And then she can drill down, and we found that looking at different age groups, more users were getting online at that particular time. But during that period, compared to 2018 to 2019, there was nearly a 4% increase. And so we are monitoring all of that and doing some other things so that we can continue to promote the website. So that concludes my report, unless there are questions.
I like some of the new imagery on the pamphlets.
Thank you.
The photography looks very good.
Very colorful.
As I know Bill would approve of. And the more we give to the public and our customers, the better. Financial update, Terry.
Good morning. The financial results for the first 2 months of our fiscal year are in your package. Of note are the fact that we are better than budget month to date and year to date so far. Also, a report on our cash position. August and September are historically the lowest transit tax receipt months, and our cash position is holding, and we should be able to cover all operating costs with available cash through the next month, and then our transit tax will pick up. Outside of that, I'll be happy to respond to any specific questions.
And how are we doing on gas comparatively? Is it staying relatively stable at this point, or are we seeing
The
big
ticks
fluxes?
and the volatility hasn't hit the financials yet.
Okay.
We did budget for a 1% to 2% increase, and we have earmarked some of the excess transit tax district money to cover what appears to be a volatile situation this year.
Okay. Helen, go ahead.
Okay, so the county approved on Friday the paratransit. So when will you receive that money?
The news is good. It's already in the bank.
Okay.
We,
They text us, they sent it that
Yep.
same day.
So they cut the check last week, and We got it in the bank Friday.
Good, okay.
Do we have anything, because you got city money, you got county money. What else do we have that's other than the Trade Center of Weston?
So for the agency fees, the only receivable right now is a small $19,000 receivable from SSU for summer semester. So the collections have turned around over the last 30 days, and we're current and moving forward consistent.
Any other questions for Terry?
You can sit down there.
Okay, thank you.
I'm just flipping through and I got to the monthly ridership report. We were down 10% over last year. Is that fueled by these rainy days? I noticed there were 11 last year and none this year. Does that keep people off the buses? Is that what happens? They decide to walk
I
rather
think
than
that's the
ride?
number I was looking at when I said.
That's in
what was
Yeah, I
our-
don't have
Bad
that
weather.
much.
How long were we down? How long were we closed for the evacuation?
Yeah, but this is August.
This
That
is
was in
August, so that won't be
September.
in there. So when staff developed the report, they also expressed a concern, and they went back and rechecked all of the numbers, compared them month over month, year to date, this year to last year, and the numbers did support the report that you have here. And historically, when it rains, less people ride the bus.
I came in for the fair. You guys know.
And that's
Yeah, I
enough to
don't
give
have
us
those
a
reports.
10%. Oh, okay. It's up on the screen.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I can't read that.
I can't either, that's why.
Because the numbers were even bad on the stop shuttles.
Yeah.
I was not here. Helen's here. Somebody got to do a proclamation.
What?
Y'all were having y'all conversation. I was having a conversation.
Oh, okay.
Since we're down to the unit, may I be excused? This voter registration day, I have to do a proclamation of voter registration.
Certainly.
Thanks, sir.
You need to cut that schedule a little bit.
I didn't make voter registration day.
I thought it was October 7th was the deadline.
It's voter registration, it's the national
The
voter
national
registration.
day, I know.
Now it's been publicized. in
They
the
gotta
media.
stop these national days.
See y'all later.
Bye.
Bye.
And some of these numbers. I know we're talking. Oh, the next, I don't, these passenger hours in August of 19, when did we get to like 31s and 36s and is that one? And then the weekend one, it's even crazier. Where we got a 60.5%. Where are these numbers generated?
Well,
In
and
the passenger per hour.
along that line, the target metrics that we're using, have we reevaluated those? Because, for a long time, we've been seeing these bar graphs with 4 or 5 of the routes routinely above the average.
Here. I looked at
I'm trying to catch up.
Yeah, we have not looked at the benchmark for passengers per hour either.
But it's not
We can
quite as
vary it.
old as the other benchmarks.
But
If
these,
you
some of
remember
them seem
this,
so crazy out of line.
It's not unusual for the 14 Abercorn or the 28 waters to have high ridership. The 27 waters.
And the weekend ones, 68.9. And the water, 60.5.
we could develop a month-over-month report that will show that these are pretty typical results for passengers per hour.
Okay, I just don't remember ever seeing
Yeah.
numbers that abnormally high.
Yeah. This report was developed in the shift to report straight ridership. We moved away from that and we started reporting riders per hour as the metric, and that was a couple of years ago. So while we haven't evaluated our targets in 2 years, it hasn't been quite 6 years that we developed this metric. And we can surely look at these numbers month over month, this year to last year, and see if there's some differences that we might need to check into.
Well, and when you do that, I'd be curious to know what criteria you use to pick a target. So that the total of all of these winds up with a passenger count or breaks us even at 15% fare box
Yeah.
recovery, or, you know, just what's the basis? I mean, it'd be easy to say, well, we want to get 15, and we look really good on the bar graph, but why would we
Right.
pick 15?
Yep, I want to check when we rolled it out. I know the presentation that Grant did for us spells out what his theory was. I haven't looked at it since then, so I'd like to check it for us.
Good. Yeah, we have, never hurts to update the metrics we're using. Any other questions for Terry? Having no old business, I'm gonna move into new business. I don't know if everybody got the package. Tabitha, you're giving me that look. We had a presentation at the committee meetings about going with Art in the shelters.
Mike,
Clinton.
For a second, you said what did you say about old business?
There's none listed. He is setting up a task force with 6 people. He's out of town right now, so I'm just letting everybody know he's working on a project with some other groups to put some kind of artwork in our shelters. He will have more on it at the next committee meeting, and when we're ready, we'll have a board presentation. If you did not get the package, we will email those out to you. I know that he brought it in at the second meeting, so those of you who attended the first meeting didn't get it, but we will get it to everybody.
This may have been addressed at your committee meeting, but they may be city ordinances that will apply.
We are.
And I wanted to.
There's a lot of research going on
bring
this
that
right
up.
now.
When we put this together, whatever we come up with, before we get too deep in the structure of that, we need to have it vetted by the Sites and Monuments Commission, because any public artwork like that has to be approved. Now, we may be able to set something up, especially if they help participate in the design of the approach. We may be able to set it up so that it's a pretty simple and quick approval process.
Yeah. And they were talking about spring of next year, so there's time. He just wants to start getting people together to look into all the things that could be good or bad about it before he makes a board presentation.
I don't know if that
like the
applies to
idea.
the county or not, because the Sites and Monuments Commission is actually, isn't that a county-wide board?
Yeah, yeah.
So it won't matter whether the bus stop is in the city or an incorporated county.
Well, and I read your email of concerns, which I shared with you, of maintenance, and in the committee meeting, since I was at the first committee meeting, I don't know what they worked out with their costs, because they were looking for money from us, and I certainly don't see that as a factor here, so.
No, I think we told Clinton that plan on us not funding it, and
I thought we said plan on us not funding all of it.
Well, there's a big difference.
Well, it was 1,000. I think it was 1,000 was what he was requesting, and it was only if other funding sources were not available.
Right, so they're gonna search for other funding sources, but I don't want us to get down on it and not wait until we get all the information and find all the reasons for us not to be able to do it. Other communities do it quite successfully. This group is accustomed to working with getting the licenses and going through the permit process, so we won't have to do that. And I think we just make sure they follow all of our city ordinances, all of our county ordinances.
Yeah, I love the idea.
And the idea is an excellent idea. You know, in addition to putting artwork up, we could have like a bus shelter design contest where people could have shelters designed in front of their businesses. And I mean, there's just so many different things that we could do, and the community could help sponsor it, and it would be nice for us to be a metropolitan city. So let's not kill it.
Oh no, it's in progress, and Clinton's not going to let go of it unless it's absolutely undoable.
Right.
This is a project he just loves, and I think it's great. I think they should go forward and get where we can get and see how it works. I really think it could improve the shelters, particularly in like Starland and areas where they are art communities, or around SCAD buildings and places where art's important. and I'm not opposed to it, I like art.
Right, we just want to make sure.
Yeah, and that's why Tabitha's on the
Well, and
committee.
part of it's cost, the other part of it for me is
Keep
I want to
them
make
straight.
sure that we don't have something that sits there looking bad. I mean,
Or-
if it
or
can't be
tracks.
maintained, then it has to.
Oh, if it
come
looks
down.
bad, it comes down, there is no doubt
Right,
about that,
but-
that's a
And also that
requirement.
doesn't attract graffiti and stuff
Well,
like
they,
that.
supposedly they have a coating they put on it that allows you to just wipe the
Good.
graffiti off, so the maintenance on it has changed. It's not like the old days where people sprayed on it every day
Good.
and made it look crummy.
Yeah, those
Well,
were the
we
only.
just need to be careful that that maintenance responsibility doesn't fall on staff.
I think
If we
they
can't
want to
keep
do
up-
it because they,
We can't keep up with the shopping carts that are left at the bus stops now, so we don't need to.
who
have-
does that, by the way?
It's a long answer.
Didn't they used to have a company that picked
Within
them
the
up?
city, we had to create an ordinance that requires the merchants to
To pick up
take care
their
of
own.
that. And we give them, when we get a report of one that's been left somewhere, bus stop or anywhere else, we inform them, give them 3 days to pick it up, and if they get it within that 3 days, then we're fine. If we have to go pick it up, then they have to pay, it's like $250, $300 to get it back.
Yeah, because that stop
And they're
on,
expensive.
that stop on Victory across from Home Depot, I don't think I've ever gone by without a cart being out there. Target carts, Home Depot carts. And we get a lot surprisingly by Armstrong.
Well,
There's
one
a
of
bunch.
the problems we run into with this is a number of the merchants insist that we cite the people that are stealing the carts. But since that's property theft, the merchant has to file
File a
charges,
complaint, yeah.
and they won't file charges. So there's no point in us arresting anybody because they're not gonna press charges.
What
You
about
know
the
what
county?
they did, and I brought this up in one meeting, I think I kept, in another city, the stores bought those little collapsible buggies and sold them for like $5 each. You know what I'm talking about? The ones the
Oh,
old
little
ladies.
shopping carts?
Yeah.
The little ladies carry.
The
yeah.
little old lady buggies. And then people were able to take.
You're right, that's exactly how everybody describes it.
That's what.
What is
listen,
it, how does the county handle it?
You just bitch about it. We go get them and drop. I mean,
You guys pick them up and take them back, pretty much? Yeah, I know there's only certain spots where it seems to be an issue, and I don't know why it's in front of Armstrong, I guess, you know.
Because that's where the kids. They don't have cars. All of them don't have cars.
Yeah, but they don't shop that much. Beer doesn't fill up a whole cart.
Depends on how much you're buying for the weekend.
That's right.
It depends on the
Right.
time of the week, I guess you're right. I'm not gonna remember my dental school days.
You might need more than one cart.
We went and bought like a month's worth, and we used to put it out on the balcony on cold nights. But it wouldn't
That's
fit
not
in
gonna
the-
keep it cold here.
Not here, no. It would be good for maybe.
But you know,
Guinness.
they keep selling these little reusable bags.
Yes, that's.
They need to
becoming
sell
very
the
bad.
shopping cart so people can tote their stuff away.
Yeah,
Other cities have done it.
because when they shop at, say, Publix, and they walk out to that bench out there to sit for the bus, they bring the cart with them so they can unload their groceries and get right on the
Right.
bus. So it's a convenience.
They need to, and that little cart is a 2-wheel cart.
Yeah.
It's deep. You put a bunch of stuff in it.
My parents had one, they loved it.
I got one. I love it.
Wait a minute, little old lady cart?
I sure do. I got my grandma's old lady cart.
Do we have anything else? Any questions, any problems? I see James is here, we have to get our orientation scheduled. Beverly is with the food, is my guess.
Who is James?
Do you want to repeat what you said about
He's
the
a what?
executive
That's
to
part of
the
any
members?
organization.
What's he doing?
Like Mr. Cody wasn't here.
Oh,
was
yeah.
down about
Monitoring your behavior.
about the search.
Yeah, the search is, we're gonna be meeting as the ad hoc committee on next Tuesday in between the morning and afternoon sessions. I'm cutting it down to 2. It
I'm sorry,
seems to
what?
work better. The search committee is meeting from 12 to 1. Open to anybody who wants to hang around for it or come in a little early for it.
On what day?
Next Tuesday. Actually, it's the first meeting dates. And if you have any suggestions as you read through the 6 proposals, share them with me. I mean, the more information we get, the better for me. Thank you for that, I forgot.
We didn't really have much of a proposal from Colin. It was just a one-page piece that he may feel like he doesn't need to send that because he did the last one.
Right.
It was similar to what he sent Mr. French to support.
I
can't.
wonder if you want to ask him if he wants to send something a
My aunt
little more
said the
fleshed
same.
out.
Not bad.
Yeah, the breast cancer's gone, now she has thyroid cancer. So, we'll be at the hospital all day that day.
Any other questions or concerns?
I had
Yes,
something
go
brought
ahead.
to my attention about some dark bus stops that may be dangerous, that some of the employees are concerned about. I had to get a list from them to see which bus stops they're talking about. But what do we do about in a situation like that?
Just a lighting issue.
It's a lighting issue.
CAT doesn't do any lighting on the stops, do they?
That
We
was the
don't have any kind of
question.
lighting.
All the new stops, we have solar panels now, especially all the new ones that we just ordered and some that was ordered a few years back. But a lot of your older ones do not. We can look into retrofit solar lighting on it, get a cost. And that's all we can
I'm assuming they're all in Garden City?
No.
No, okay. I didn't, well, I imagine that's who's telling you that the.
No,
they're
it's
too
in
dark.
town. It's a dark route.
Yeah, if you can get some locations,
And they're
share them with
concerned
us.
about someone jumping out.
I know Can Park is like Sleepy Hollow.
They didn't upgrade that when they put in all the other stuff?
No,
Did they add lights at all? No?
listen, Can Park, Bacon Park, all of those over there.
Oh, yeah, Bacon Park.
It's like Sleepy Hollow when you driving through there.
Yeah, I know.
You waiting on the headless horse to come snatch you. I'm telling you, it is dark.
There's a lot of spots on Savannah that way, and partly from the tree canopy, it's kind of hard to get lighting in there.
I mean, I don't know what formula they use to put lights out there. There's a light there, and there's a light all the way over yonder around the corner.
And non-connected.
We
Too
could
light.
solve a lot of problems. We just cut all the trees down.
No, just put up some lights.
I'm gonna tell that lady from the tree place, that you're talking about cutting all her
Yeah,
trees
you
down.
better tell that you.
Tell the
She's
tree
news.
foundation that.
They charge you a fee for
I
everyone they
didn't,
cut
I
down. We
didn't
had to pay
suggest
it
that
per
we
year.
do it. I just said we would solve a lot of
I
problems.
think that if they had a set distance between the lights, because like in Ardsley Park, it's lit up. There's lights every couple of 100 feet.
I guess that's.
And then you cross over MLK, and it's like a light every mile.
Yeah. We'll have to advise the city of that.
Not my district.
And I do my Thor.
I mean, there's undoubtedly places that need better lighting.
Yeah.
And part of it is the tree canopy, and part of it is frequency of lighting, and a lot of it
Cost,
is squeaky
running
wheel
lines.
stuff. Who's asking for more lighting? Another thing that really matters on things like that is in residential areas, one of the things that every once in a while somebody brings up is encouraging people to keep their lights on at night, keep on your porch lights.
Right.
In the block I live on, there's a couple of street lights, but it's the porch lights that actually light the streets because of the trees. So, there's a lot of little things that need to be done. Some of it's the city.
Yeah.
Well, they changed
You got more money than
the
God,
type
we
of
can
light
take care of
bulbs.
everything.
And everybody
That
got
was-
mad
that
about the
was
type of
Georgia.
light bulb.
That was Georgia
Power.
That was Georgia Power. Which I thought the light bulb was better because it didn't have a glare.
Well,
But it didn't
the
spread
biggest
out.
reason for changing them was efficiency.
Yeah.
And when you keep them from spreading out, you start eliminating a lot of light pollution, which is good. But the thing that most people object to is the lights that most people have been used to all of their lives is a very warm colored light. And when they put those new lights in, they were a daylight balance light. They create a color of light that's like daylight. And it just looks weird if you're not used to it.
Yeah,
Oh.
and it's like this. It doesn't like.
That's deliberate, though. You want
Yeah.
light coming down, you don't want light going up.
I know, but the little old ladies don't like that light. They like the light that's spread out, you know.
Peter,
Because now the lights stay like on the sidewalks, the direction of the light. And they said it used to hit all the way up to their porch.
Well, and all of
How
the
much
lighting
of
is
these-
supposed to eliminate the public spaces, not the private.
How much of these iron benches that I see, I've noticed that are showing up at some of the bus stops?
We put in any new ones on the bus stops? or-
Cost of the metal bench piece of the component, about two.
did you notice, oh, you didn't come into the lobby, we put a whole bunch out there, Pete.
Who makes the decision about these iron benches that will seat, maybe 3 or 4 people? I've noticed some of those appearing. I don't know exactly how much, but what is the difference between those iron benches and these high hats they're talking about?
Sombreros.
And we see that we've got a number of those high hats where only one person can sit there.
Yeah, we haven't installed any sombreros, is what those are called, in quite a while.
I've never.
Before, most of us have
Suspended
been
in
here.
2012.
Yeah, so it's been a while. What we do now is we go for, if we can, if we have the room, the full shelter, trash can, bench, canopy coverage, on all new installations of bus stops. So if that's
And
something
we did
you've seen,
authorize some new ones.
Well, anyway, I think this board needs to know about what the cost factor is on some of these that have been already put up or are going to put up.
What was the cost on the new ones?
$6,300 a piece for a shelter, bench, and trash can.
And the slab is another,
Slab is another 32 to 4,000 according to where
and
it's at.
permits and everything, so we're looking at about 12 grand to stop.
Yes.
We're up to about 12 grand for every bench and canopy we put out. We do have 10 new ones coming now.
And who has the information about where they're going to be put up?
what we do is we look at ridership, we look at the ridership numbers on the APC data, and we're looking for boardings of 25 or more. Is that what we're
25 or more at each bus stop, so that's where we're starting at.
It'll be our
But we're
big
not
route.
focusing on one route. We're looking at
Yeah.
the busier routes, but we're also looking at all of our routes to see where we can install shelters. We're not looking at one area, one route. We're looking at a need where it's needed.
I would like to suggest that we add that back on as old business for our next meeting.
Yeah, because I don't think you were here when we voted on
Okay.
getting the shelters. When do they do, like December? They'll be in?
Sounds about right.
Right, yeah.
I think that's what we mentioned then. And then we're gonna have to evaluate where they're gonna go.
Well, we also want to make sure that if we've got any routes that might be changed in the Let's Go plan, that we
And
don't
that's-
put a new stop
Yeah,
there.
that's part
Right.
of why we want to get that finished in the next month or so before we start putting up stuff we have to take down. So hopefully by the end of the year, we've got, when those new shelters are here, we can say, okay, we need one there, one there, one there. Because I've noticed a lot when I'm riding along, particularly on Abercorn, a lot of the stops are in the middle of long blocks. And it's promoting people using that as a crosswalk from shelter to shelter. And I don't know what the plans are, but that worries me because
Well,
that's a dangerous road.
I may get in trouble for suggesting this, but if we've got certain places where we've got long blocks with stops in the middle and a stop on either side of the street, that could be a place where we put in some of these, we could just put a mark there for a crosswalk and one of these stop signs that just stop if there's a pedestrian.
Right.
You shouldn't have to be told, but.
Or we move them closer to the intersections that are existing. But there's some decisions we're gonna have to make about that whole process.
It's like when you design an area with sidewalks and you put sidewalks around something and people create a path through the grass in the middle.
yeah.
Somewhere along the way, you have to just acknowledge what people are gonna do and accommodate that.
Yeah, and Abercorn's my primary drive, so I see it every day at the Walmart, at Armstrong, at Publix. As you go up, everyone's a run across, and it's dangerous because it's a 45-mile zone there.
Which means people are doing 60.
Yeah, that's part of the problem. Anything else? Anybody have anything? If not, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, everyone. I smell the food, so that's here. We can probably start in about an hour.
Yeah.